إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله.
Yeah, he says, if you're a common man, you're locked into the system. I have nowhere to go except using the bank. What should I do? And it's a good question. It's a very difficult. It's difficult to answer it because usually the common man, he doesn't have a lot of money. He can't buy a factory. So what I advise the Muslim communities when they are a minority and we don't have a Muslim system is that you create solutions. For instance, you start funds where people can invest their money together. And they can buy land, they can buy factories, they can buy different things. Halal funds. I think there's only one, there's a very small solution to this in Kenya and in general in the Islamic world. But that's why I said when I talk to ulama, if you're going to give a fatwa, the fatwa you're going to give is that you're going to make it obligation for the Muslims to start a fund where they can invest, put their money instead of the bank. Not going to the bank and say that this is halal. For instance, I went to a Muslim community. They have approximately 5,000 members. And a huge problem is buying apartments in this society. So I said, and there came a fatwa, yeah, you can buy apartment with debt. I said, why did you make that fatwa? Why didn't you say that these 5,000 people should put, I said it was approximately $2,000 in one box. Everybody should put $2,000, make the obligation. You don't lose your money, it's an investment. And you build 50 apartments. And then you rent out these 50 apartments. The next year you can build 20 apartments. And the next year you can build 40 apartments. And if they did that in 2000, when I advised the Muslim community to do that, they would have owned the country they're in today. And they're a minority in that country. Because when you have suddenly 200 apartments and every Muslim owns his apartment, then you need a company to do janitors, you need electricity, you need a lot of stuff which you can use in that community. That's how you build wealth, real wealth. But no, the ulama came and said, yeah, it's so difficult, take debt. And they would suffer because they are low income. They will suffer. They are the first one to suffer, unfortunately. And this is because the ulama, many of them, not all of them, of course, do not understand the model. They're also, yes. Raise your voice. Yes, take on Islamic banking. I was waiting for that question. We have been saying in Arabic, and for maybe it's close to Swahili, when danak ya juha. They do like this. Yeah, he laughed. They understand it. The worst thing I've ever seen is Islamic banking. It's even worse than conventional banking. It's cheating. It's cheating. It's cheating. It's so bad. There could be some issue I haven't seen, but what I have seen so far is much worse than conventional banking, to be honest. And I say, we are discussing this as well, it's like you have a brothel, a brothel? Is how prostitutes works? If you put Islamic brothel in front of it, it becomes halal? It doesn't become halal. I'm shocked when I see a lot, and I've heard in Kenya, we have the same, where somebody's trying to do this. They say, well, we'll go in, we buy this house for you. You remember this, and this is back to this, because this is the principle number one. Fair and sustainable risk models. It's not fair and it's not sustainable. They're not taking risk. That's the first rule in Islam. Then it's haram. And how some ulama can sit on Sharia boards and don't know even the first principle in Islamic economics. Subhanallah, I'm so surprised. This is the first principle in Islamic economics. Fair and sustainable risk models. It's very easy. You don't even have to go to school to understand that the model they have is not fair. Yes?
Now, if we have taken maybe mortgages and maybe loans through those Islamic institutions, what's the way forward?
Well, I can say that for those sorry people who came today, unfortunately, you came with good intentions, because before you came, you didn't know. The ulama said it's halal, so then it's on the shoulder of the ulama. After today, you can't say that anymore because you know it's not good. So now you know, so maybe you shouldn't have come. But since you're here and since you have the question, you know, I say if you're going to do haram, at least do it in the least worst way. And actually conventional banking is much better than the Islamic banking. Subhanallah, this is so bad.
But the thing is, you have already mortgaged.
You have already done it.
10 years you have paid. You are left with another 7 years to maybe pay.
Yeah, well,
House or
I don't know. I can't give you an answer. You have to. This is an individual choice. I cannot give you a fatwa, sell or do that. I'm not a mufti on these issues. But so this, you have to go home and you have to consider what's best for you and what's best according to Sharia, and then you have to make a choice. Yes. This okay. This one, and then we come to this side.
I think there are differences between Islamic banking and the
The difference. Yeah.
finish your presentation?
Yeah. Well, this is so important, so I will go into that. The difference is there's actually no difference, except what I see that if you go to a bank, traditional bank, you say I want to borrow 1,000, and they say okay, it's 5% interest rate, and you pay a mortgage, you know, and then you pay down, you make a plan. The Islamic bank says okay, this house, this is the house price. The Islamic bank, and as I've seen them do now, they say this house costs 1,000 shilling. We'll buy it and sell it to you for 1,500. What is this 500?
They call it
Yes, alhamdulillah. And this again, we have another saying, so we can get that around. They call it fawaid. And in the Arab world, we know it's whiskey. You know whiskey. We call it in the Quran, what we call it? Khamr. What the Arab now call it? Mashrubat ruhaniya. Anybody can translate to English? Mashrubat ruhaniya. Spiritual drinking. Something to calm down the spirits, your spiritual age. Yes. It's the same. So this 500, this is not fawaid. This is the riba. But the case is, when you borrow from the bank, you buy the house for 1,000, you know you're paying 5%, and it goes down and less and less and less. What I've seen the Muslim Islamic banking now saying, and I've seen it everywhere, in every country, assume the house prices next year and next year's increases. The market value of the house goes up to 2,000. The bank doesn't say anything. They take 5% of the 1,000. What I've seen the Islamic banking doing, they call you and say, well, this 1,500 is not enough. Price has gone up. You have to pay 2,000. That's what they do. Pricing has gone up, market has gone up. Now it's not worth 1,500 anymore. It's worth 2,000, so you have to pay 2,000. You see? And they're taking no risk. Assume you can't pay. What happens in this case? They take your house. They take everything. So where's the risk taking? They're not taking any risk. Assume the market price of the house goes down. It becomes 500. Principle, if you're sharing risk, this will go down. At least if you when it goes up, you make it up, but you don't make it down. How come? The conventional bank said 1,000. We don't care. Go up, go down, we don't care. You're going to pay 5,000. It's haram, and they don't take risk anyway. But, okay, you know what you're paying. You know the situation. This is cheating. You say, I buy it for 5,000, I sell it to you for 1,500. This is trading capital. For banks, they're trading in capital. You're not buying anything. You're not owning it. You're just trading in capital, financial assets. So I say, if you first are going to do haram, then do the least haram. So you drink alcohol, drink beer, not whiskey. I don't know if this is any better, but... Pardon? The question, I promised questions from over. Yes? Raise your voice. No, it's not nothing. This is the basic economics. The higher the risk you take, the higher the expected return on investment. If you take a high risk, I hope then you expect to win. Or you might win or you might lose much more money. So I take this product, I don't know, nobody knows about it. I'll buy it, try to sell it, and suddenly everybody loves it. I make a lot of money, I take a high risk, or nobody loves it, I lose money. This is just between risk and return on investments. So when you're investing in general, you should always get advice. What is the risk? And you should know, if somebody tells me, so one day a guy came to me actually today, he says, we are going to do a fund. It's low risk, and I will guarantee 50% return on investment. I said, this is not low risk. You cannot get 15% with low risk. So that's kind of a small answer to the question. But it's not, in Islam, yeah, you can take as much risk as you want, and you can have maximized profits. It's no problem. It's no problem at all. Okay.
Excuse me.
Yes?
What if that money you invest in gold?
In gold, yes?
Rather putting it in the bank?
Yes? You buy gold. Gold is tangible. Yes.
You buy gold and you keep it.
You can buy gold, yes, and you can keep it. Gold can go up and down in price, of course, but you can buy gold and keep it, but you have to pay zakah on gold. But if you produce, it's very good, and you employ people, and you create economical growth. Yes? You have to raise your voice. Forex exchange. Yes? Exchange in itself is not haram. Changing from one currency to another currency, in principle, is not haram. But the difference is if you add on the currency rate. You understand? If the market rate is $1 is 10 shilling, that's the market rate, and you say, I will sell you $1 for 12 shilling, then you're trading in capital. But you can have commission. That's the administration fee, but that's a fixed fee. And of course, you can have interval because there's more transaction cost when you have a larger amounts and small amounts. But if you trade in capital, you're trading in money. No. Yes.
You talked about the housing.
Yes.
For example, Islamic banks finance or buy houses for me.
Yes.
And they charge, instead of 1,000, they tell me to pay 1,500.
Yes.
How is the 500 riba?
What is it then?
No, I'm just asking.
Yes.
How is it riba?
Because the bank. What is the bank? What does it mean to have a bank? It means you're trading in capital. Actually, banking means trade in capital. So it has a capital, it has 1,500, it had 1,000. It says, I will buy this house. This is like one denake joha, and I'll sell it to you to 1,500. These 500, they are not real estate producers. They do not do real estate. They do banking. So they're trading in the capital. You have to understand. It's very
The thing is, but willingly, willingly.
Yeah. It's willingly. You can go to drink alcohol. I don't force you. Yes, okay, willingly. It doesn't make it halal. Okay. The bank is not a producer of anything except money. This is where it's come. The bank trades in capital. The bank gets money from somebody, deposits, and then it sells you the money, and it says, well, I'll buy your house and give it to you on that price. Forget it. If I construct houses and I I will sell you this for 1,500, and you can pay over a 10 years period, that's okay. That's my business.
I think what you are getting, what you are not understanding, I guess, is that Islamic banks engage in trade. Generally, engage in trade.
They don't.
And this is my perspective.
Okay.
And if you look in, for example, like I think Turkey and other countries, what they do is they call them participation banks or participating such things. So how do we say then that the 500 is riba?
First of all, in order to get a bank license in Kenya and any other country, you deal with the central bank. So you have to understand the concept. So this concept, when you get a deposit, you deal with what we call interbank interest rate. You're forced, you have to. This is why the concept of banking in itself is trading capital. But if you say, I will start a shareholder limited company, this limited company will buy apartments, each apartment is one share, and I will sell that shares. I'm not banking, I'm selling shares in that apartment. Or each apartment is 10 shares, and you can buy 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5. On the end, you can buy all the shares. That's a different. When you do banking, you do inter-rate banking, inter-rate interest rate within central bank with other banks. You move in capital. You're trading in money, trading in financial assets. There was a question behind here. Yes? Yes.
And we ask putting this money aside for charity.
For charities. This is like the Robin Hood story. I steal and I give away. No, it doesn't. It's not halal in Islam. Behind you, I have to take to some of the behind. The one behind you has to raise up. Yes.
Also about bank guarantee.
Bank guarantees.
And the commission they charge. Yeah.
Bank guarantees. Difficult question. I don't think I can answer that now. Bank guarantees. عليكم السلام ورحمة الله كده.
قلنا المحاضرة بعدين نعطي مجال الأسئلة لو فتحنا الأسئلة ما تكمل المحاضرة.
That's no problem.
We'll go on like that?
No, I will go continue now. Okay, I will continue a little bit on the Islamic framework and we will go back to the questions afterwards. Is that okay? Yes. That's okay. So now we understand the financial systems. And as I said initially, in Islam, and almost all the Nobel Prizes in economics are actually built on the Islamic model. They go in and they look at the Islamic model and they come up. This model of tangible assets and financial assets, social economics, with maximizing welfare, they took that from Ibn Khaldun. And now we come to the second point. In the second point in Islamic economics is what we call, in all economics, in Europe, the most important thing they did when they got economic growth was this we call contract law. I would take that first. This is advice from Muslims. Contract law is basically in Islam very simple. Every transaction in economics in Islam, every transaction we do should be done in writing. It is not legal to engage in brother contracts in Islam. Ya akhi, ahna akhwa, we do this, we deal. No, we don't need contract, don't need to write now. Because Allah says in the Quran, we had al-Hafiz here, where was it? It's an order, it's a command. And this is really essential because this is what they did in Europe, and when they had growth, they established laws for contracts. You have to have contracts. Extremely important. So I say to all Muslims, even if you're doing business with your brother, your mother, your sister, whoever, always do it in writing. All the challenges I see in the Muslim communities in Europe, when they do business together, they have nothing in contract. Well, he prays with me every day. Well, he's the imam of the masjid. How could I know? No. Write it in contract. Write everything. So principle number one in Islam, every transaction should be written in contracts. There is no excuse. If anybody comes to you and say, oh, well, we are Muslims, that means you're not Muslim. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, if you believe in God, write. Finished. This is not discussable. Only if you don't have a pen, and that's not a case today. It's like it doesn't exist today.
The content of the contract.
Yes, it's the witnesses and the rest of the rules. So the witnesses and how it becomes valid. The next point, which also Muslims are quite bad at, is what we call contract compliance. What does contract compliance mean? This is actually Islamic law. It means that if I promise you something, I will keep my promise. If I say I will come 12 o'clock, I'll come 12 o'clock. Right? How good are we at that? Very bad. In the old days, if you read history books in Europe and other countries, when they're talking about Islamic traders, they said that if we had an appointment with a Muslim trader at 12 o'clock, and I was waiting for him, and my clock was showing 12:15, and he came, I revived my clock to 12, meaning that the Muslim trader, he comes 12 o'clock. He doesn't come late. This is essential in economics. This is what we call the Nobel Prize on this. It's called transaction cost. For those who does, I think there are 2 Nobel Prizes in this. Transaction cost. Because if you don't have trust, this is the element of trust in economical transactions, the cost of doing economics transactions gets so high. Because I have to check everything. I don't trust him. I have to monitor. I have to use extra work, extra money, extra stuff. So the concept in Islam is very clear. It says, and it even says in Hadith, لا إيمان لمن لا أمان له ولا دين لمن لا عهد له. If you don't keep your promise, You don't come at 12 o'clock, and it's basic, small promises. It's not complicated things. Also small things. You have no deen. If I say a secret to you and you tell it to somebody else, you have no deen.